Welcome to Profound Shifts. I am your host, Nate Prince. In pursuit of growth for the mind, body, and soul, we talk to humanity's pioneers, game changers, healers, and disruptors to help you make the profound shifts in your life that lead to peace, joy, freedom, and abundance. Are you ready for a life of growth? Hey guys, I am honored today to be bringing you a very special guest, Evangelia Vensel, who operates the Facebook page Holistic Healing Health Warriors. And what she's going to share with you today is her story of being completely bedridden, racked with illness, and everything that comes along with that. Addiction, pain, suffering, relationship issues, the entire story of how she went from being completely bedridden for years to finding her own health and recovering her wholeness, her energy, and her vitality. You guys, you are in for an inspiring story from somebody who truly will light up and inspire your spirit. So, if you know somebody who's suffering from chronic illness, or you yourself are suffering from chronic illness, this is an episode that has the ability to change your life if you have the ears to listen and the eyes to see. So sit back, relax, let's jump right into it. When we were talking yesterday, like you said that you wanted to do this, the title you thought of, which I loved, was Conquering Chronic Illness. And you know, like in today's world, there are so many people that are suffering from chronic illness and disease or dis-ease. And so who is it, like when you think about like the people that you speak to, who is it that you feel that you really speak to?
People that have Lyme disease, depression, people that are suicidal. I mean, it's really the lost souls, I feel, that I'm connecting to right now and that I'm able to reach out to.
And you speak from experience. I mean, because it's not like you just decided to start helping people who were there. Like you actually have a story where you traveled through like that dark night of the soul, right? I had no idea that my own trauma and my own abuse and my own issues was going to end up being my sword. How I was going to navigate in this world, how I was going to relate to people. I had no idea that my darkness and all these things that I kept hidden, that I was so scared of the world outside of me to hear or know, for rejection or just judgment and not being my authentic self. And it's like the day I decided to just be my authentic self. And of course, it wasn't just one day. It was, of course, doing some Psych K and really owning and really releasing a lot of things so that I had a clean plate. It was, understanding. I had no idea that so many people are still struggling or have struggled with the same kind of stuff I did. And I just thought I was alone in the world. And it just turns out that there are more people suffering and more people walking around with, flowers and balloons every day. It's like, okay, so I'm not alone. You said something there that I thought was really interesting. And you mentioned that it became your sword. Like what you went through, what you experienced would actually ultimately become your sword in helping other people like get through their journey of chronic illness. And I think before we really talk about like how you went through, before we really talk about how you healed yourself from everything that you went through, and just, to tap on some of the highlights of the things that you talked about, is that you had, Lyme disease, you suffered from addiction, and you talk about these things openly, which I really admire your vulnerability, especially I think your audience really admires that. And that's why you've built up such a big audience of people who listen to and want to know how you healed yourself. So before we really touch on the steps you took to heal yourself, I want to dive into your story a little bit so that people can really recognize like what you really went through
before your healing process, like how deep the pits of struggle really can be, because there's a lot of people out there that have given up hope. And I think those are the people that we really want to speak to.
For me, when you ask me that question, it directs me to, when did my pain begin?
Yeah.
Pain in my body, a disruption of where things started to change. And of course, learning everything I've learned, it's because I was infected or a bit compromised as a child. So I started having.
So you're saying that you were bit as a child?
Yes.
Okay, and then so the symptoms didn't manifest until you later on in life.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So the debilitating symptoms that took me out didn't happen until 2013, and my first symptoms were abdominal pain, GI issues, food sensitivities, dairy intolerance. I mean, it was always stomach. And then when I got my period, it was, everyone just thought I was being a baby. Like, oh, suck periods. All girls get pain. All girls, and for me, it was like, wow, I have to really figure out a way to deal with this pain. And it didn't come out till years later that I had endometriosis. And then interstitial cystitis, and then chronic bronchitis or chronic infection. I was always on and off antibiotics all through high school. I was on painkillers through high school to get through class. I smoked a lot of weed because weed was this magic plant for me, that I could handle the pain, I could handle the headaches. I felt like every other girl that had normal menstrual cramps, but they were not normal. I was hemorrhaging. I had pain so bad I'd lie and skip school and go hide at neighbors' houses and lay there and sleep all day and just bleed all day. My mom just figured I was being a baby, and then I'm taking in all these beliefs. I'm just a baby. You got to suck it up. You can take this pain. Every girl gets this pain, and it's not that bad. And then it was like all the mental madness started to happen, of questioning what was happening with my body, and shoving that into the back of my mind because I'm choosing to believe everything that everyone's telling me. And that, then it led into my 20s.
So what were your 20s like?
20s, I had babies they told me I wasn't going to have because of my endometriosis.
Right.
And I just wasn't okay with that answer. Deep down in my soul, I felt that I was supposed to be a mother. I just tried to defy the odds, and found a holistic OBGYN, and she was, guided me again, to change my diet and change my environment, let go of my stressors, and behold, I had 2 babies, but ended up needing to have a emergency hysterectomy because of the bacteria. It had deteriorated my uterus. So, but in Western medicine, that's considered, my lining, was deteriorating because of the endometriosis. Endometriosis is just the lining of your uterus is being deteriorated, but they have no idea that a bacteria could be eating away. It's the same thing. Same with RA. It's not inflammation. It's something actually attacking the nerves.
So how old were you when you had the emergency hysterectomy?
30. So in my 20s was actually me thinking I was mentally crazy. The bacteria had worked its way into my brain, and I was having what?
Oh, I was going to say, and the bacteria that you're talking about, this is from the original bite that you had when you were a child.
Yes. Yes.
And this
The
is
spirochete.
from tick. Oh, spirochete, and this is from
Yes.
ticks. Okay.
Ticks or mosquito, can't pinpoint it down, but the
Right.
infection started then.
Okay.
And
So 20s, you were actually felt like you were suffering from mental illness.
yes. And going down Western medicine and seeing all the best doctors, seeing psychiatrist after psychiatrist.
But can you tell us a little bit about what that was like? Like, what did you experience specifically that made you think that you were suffering from mental illness?
I would the inconsistency of my moods, it was
Right.
uncontrollable. And it wasn't just one or the other, like, bipolar, I was depressed for a week and then I'd be manic for a week. It wasn't like that. It was like manic and depression all day, and being unpredictable with my outbursts. And I had 2 little babies and a husband, and trying to be a stay-at-home mom and run a business of hair out of my house and try to keep it together. And I just, the doctors were like, you're too stressed out, postpartum. So it was pill. I believed it. I just needed to keep functioning. Nobody understood what I was trying to explain to them about the madness that was going on in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I would see literally myself throwing my body out of a window. Like, these are things I never manifested before. I never thought about things like this before. So those random scary thoughts were scaring me. And I would get these occasional vertigo, where everything would just start spinning. And it was like you were in a dream. It was just like you were fucking high, like a drug or something. But I'm like, what did I eat today? What did I take today? Oh my God, what am I on? Like, and then you start being all paranoid and you sound like a fucking hypochondriac and schizophrenic. And that's what they start telling you. Oh,
Yeah.
you're showing signs of ADHD, and oh, how was your school? And I'm like, God, I've always been a daydreamer. So I guess that means I'm ADHD. Okay, well, I believe it. Just give me the fucking pill that I need to make this right. Because I knew there was a disruption going on in my body and in my brain. And we were never taught how to use the right words to really explain. And when you're with doctors, they're just kind of really listening to the symptoms, and, they want to help you. They have good intention and they want to give you the right med. It's not that I hate doctors. I just hate that they don't have the education, more education about not just pharmaceuticals.
Right.
Because I was on every single pharmaceutical. Every other week with my appointment, it was, that didn't work, let's try this. That didn't work, let's try this. And I was like that kid in a candy store, to where I became almost addicted to my appointments. And then I started getting discouraged, and my family was like, the pills are working, you just got to give it time. And I'm just like, okay, well, they're not working, or they would work and they'd oversedate me, to where that's when I became an addict. And by the time I was 29, turning 30, my brain felt on fire. I was trying any drug, whether it was cocaine, whether it was painkillers, mixed it with alcohol, anything to put a pause to this. That's what it felt like going on in my head and in my body. I didn't know how to explain it. And until my son found me on the floor.
And when
I fainted.
You'd fainted?
Oh, multiple times, but the last time my son had found me, and I had done a bunch of cocaine to try to keep me going for that day. I had a glass of whiskey next to me. I was getting ready to smoke a joint so that I could get my ass to go to sleep from being all jacked up all day. And my kids were sleeping. I was loading the laundry, and I felt that vertigo, weird buzzing going on again. And I held on to the washer like, oh my God, what is this? This one's different. And all of a sudden it just went, and I just blacked out, fell, hit my head on the doorknob, fell on the floor. Water started flooding all over the laundry room floor, and I'm just laying there in it. And my son is like 6, 7, and he's screaming, calling for me, comes into the laundry room, sits on me, and just, like a little kid, he's like, Mom, wake up, like no big deal. And that was my moment of clarity. I knew nobody knew I was getting high. Nobody knew how fucked up I was all day. My husband traveled, he was never home. And I had these 2 little kids, and I was scared of my mind that if the truth came out that I was using, and I was trying to just live with this crazy madness, the kids would be taken away, my husband would leave me. But after fainting and almost dying or feeling like I could have died, I had my own intervention. I was so scared. I made my family dinner and invited my in-laws over, and I basically told them, I made them dinner, and I said, I have a problem. Something's not right. I can't stop. I'm trying to stop. I can't stop, and I need help. And I fell to my knees that night and surrendered and asked God to just take this from me. I didn't know what to do with it. I took all my addictions and all my visions in my head, and I put it in a box, and I literally was so angry, and I threw it at God, and I said, you fucking take it, because I can't fucking do this anymore. Like, if you have a better way, then you fucking show me. That's exactly what I was like. I was like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You do it. And 3 days later, I got a call to go to rehab.
Okay. And so now I would love to that if if this was the end of the story and it was magic and rainbows after this point, but
it's not.
yeah, but you faced even more difficult.
Oh yeah.
So okay, so you've gone through this, so just trying to cope with the way that your body and your mind felt, you found that these drugs were helping you cope with it and get through the day and take care of the things that were important to get done. But then it got to the point where you realized like it wasn't working because you weren't getting better. You felt like you were actually moving the opposite direction.
Correct.
And it got to the point where you broke down. You finally said, I have to tell. And first of all, I want to honor you for having the courage to do that. That's amazing, because I think so many people, they feel ashamed of where they're at and they keep that stuff buried, or they turn it around and they project anger at everybody around them. So that's a huge step. But so now you're in rehab. Can you talk a little bit about what happened post rehab?
I was awakened. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I felt better because I was clear-headed. I was off of everything. I was around like-minded people. I was getting this constant support to be able to just talk about my trauma and talk about my issues that were lying underneath this, which I'd never done before. You don't get enough time in a chair with your psychiatrist to talk about your journey or your shit, Yeah. I connected with people. I got into AA, stayed sober, was told to stop engaging with toxic people. I followed the plan. I executed it. I stayed sober. But it was random nerve pain. It was my arm going numb, my foot going numb, my ears ringing, my fingertips going white. And it wasn't happening it all together. It was just these random occasions, or I was getting this weird buzzing in the back of my neck. And I kept it in for a long time. I did not want to go down that fucking road. I was like, you got this. It's okay. I'm doing the whole Evangelia thing. Like, it's okay. People just think you're crazy. Because what it felt to me was crazy trying to talk about it. I'm like, no, it feels like there's a wire or a bug just going, oh, what was that? Or all of a sudden so anyways, that was me trying to stay the sober road.
Yeah.
Because pharmaceuticals were considered a drug. Cough medicine was considered a drug. I mean, it was hardcore. hardcore. I mean, it was nothing that could your state of mind. Rubbing alcohol, you had to stay away from rubbing alcohol. I mean, it was, and I did it, and I was proud of it. But I had to go to the doctors
too that I just want to touch on here, and I remember this from watching my own mom's journey, and that's that at this point in time, like autoimmune diseases, like they weren't really recognized by the medical community yet, were they? Like I would imagine that you got
I
a
never
lot.
heard anything of it.
Yeah, and if you tried talking to a doctor, you'd get, well, that's it, basically like that's
fibromyalgia.
Or
well, until once it started to get so bad after the journey of seeing neurologists for the nerve pain and MRIs and everything coming back normal, and then here we are again with I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And then going, fuck it, you know what? I can't live with this pain. Like, I had to just say, fuck off, sobriety world. Like, I love being sober, but I really need medicine because something's going on. And that was another 2 years of migraine medicine, nerve pain, Lyrica. I mean, just fucking everything. And not one doctor said anything. They just said I was fine, but I think they were giving me medications to kind of calm my mind and make me think I don't know. But I lived like that fine and continued and did speaking and getting life again and functioning. Even though I had this achiness and that annoying disruption that I just had to come to, accept that it was me. Yeah. It was just how I operated. It was just how I worked. And then choosing to put on that famous mask that chronic illness sufferers are so good at putting on. I mean, we've got our face and our body, but we have a separate literal like a sleeve we slip on that says I'm okay. And unfortunately, a bacteria that's taken over internally does not show externally. And but like, the zombie shows, I always tell my kids, I'm like, turn me inside out. It's another story. I probably look like a horror story of freaking pathogens and parasites eating my body away.
So, okay. So you get out of rehab. You remain sober for a period of time. Finally, you're like, but you're suffering so much that you go back to using the pharmaceutical drugs that were prescribed to you. And I know that this leads to ultimately you being bedridden for a number of years. Can you talk?
Not that actually, I didn't get bedridden until a fender bender. And nobody was hurt but me. And that was another journey. It was like, okay, well, why did I get affected? Why am I bedridden? Why can't I move my neck? I literally thought I was dying. And that was another journey of going to different doctors. I finally landed with a neurologist that was giving me Botox for my head pain. Found out I had Chiari malformation, which was showed up in every single MRI I'd had in the last 5 years, but only took one doctor to see it. All of them showed it. Was seeing rheumatoid arthritis doctors. Huh?
What is that? What
Chiari?
Did you say? Yeah, what is that?
Chiari is I believe there's 3 or 4 different stages. You can either be born with it. If you're born with it, you don't live very long, you die. Stage 2 is it happens in a young adult, which is I'm stage 2. It's a condition where when your bones stopped growing, your skeleton, your brain, your everything, my brain continued to grow. So I have little space for movement.
Okay.
So the brain, you know how it's kind of like, it kind of looks like a bean and it closes at the end. Well, when I have Chiari, it never closed. All those nerve endings started to grow in through the spine, into the neck and into the spine. So there's surgeries where they go and cut it and connect it and do a mesh and all this stuff. And I was on that waiting list. Once I found that out, I'm like, that's it. It's all Chiari. Oh my God. That's what it is. I was like, that's what all this pain is, and from being a hairdresser and all this stuff. And I had so many surgeons ready to open me up. I was ready to shave off half my hair, have them open up my brain and skin and do their thing. And my family was totally freaked out, and I was all game. I was like, look, guys, you're not the one living in my body. If this guy's telling me all I needed is surgery and I could be back, game on, let's do this, you know?
Yeah.
But my naturopath at the time was like, please go get a second and third opinion. And so I did. And both those opinions were like, I think you can do some alternative, maybe, you know, do some other work before opting for surgery. Because at the time, my naturopath was like, this could knock you out for years. Like, you could be a vegetable. You would need a neck brace for 6 months to relearn how to hold your neck up. So I was still game.
Yeah. Well, and that was because you were so desperate just to feel.
Yeah. And the rheumatoid arthritis doctors were telling me I had an autoimmune disease. I had all the markers. I had chronic inflammation. I had chronic fatigue. So they were like, you have fibromyalgia. And I'm like, I almost wanted to throw myself a party because I was so fucking happy there was an actual diagnosis or a label or a sticker or whatever that could tell me you're not crazy, but what's going on inside your body is crazy. So I got my validation, and I was like, nobody's going to take that baby away from me. That is mine, my fibromyalgia and my Chiari.
And so now was
all
this
bullshit too.
And we're going to get into that. So was this at the point when this is at the point where you had just started your journey where you were bedridden, or?
Yes. So when I became, after the accident, that's when I found out that I was affected because I had Chiari.
Okay.
So that made sense. Then I was seeing chiropractors, massage therapists, and acupuncturists, and then being diagnosed. No. I think acupuncture helped during the session. You know, it was like, it felt good then, but then it was like, I'd leave my appointment and, you know, I'd herx from it. Herxing is like a side effect you get from detoxing, or when you're over intoxicated in the body and your lymphatic system's trying to push stuff out. So when you don't know that's going on, and you're going in and doing things that a normal healthy person can do with the normal, you know, detoxing system going, they're not backed up and clogged up like a backed up pipe. We are. So you go in and try to do anything, and we're like, oh my God, what was that? So then that discouraged me. I started getting scared. And then it wasn't till about 5 years into living with fibromyalgia, laying in my bed, not doing hair, not being able to eat everything. I was sensitive to everything. I mean, I reacted to everything.
So what can you kind of run us through what an average day looked like for you when you were bedridden? Yeah.
It really wasn't a day. It was, I'd wake up and my bones and my body would be stiff, like locked, like this. And it was so painful that I didn't move. I just didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything. If I had to get up to the bathroom, then I would start moving my knees to get my circulation going, because my feet were getting numb if I started moving them too much. So then that scared me. I wouldn't move my legs. So I would literally try to find a position that I was laying in. And I literally had like fucking 10 pillows in my bed. I had one for my hip. I had one for in between my knees. I had one to prop up my arm so that my arm wouldn't go numb. And then I would rock myself, get myself up, just literally get myself to go to the bathroom. I had a hard time getting up from the toilet. I would hold on to the toilet paper thing to kind of give me support.
Yeah.
And then I just go back into bed, and I would pray that someone would come upstairs and ask me if I was hungry, because I was fucking starving, but I was scared of food. I was so scared that whatever I ate would make me have diarrhea, or it would clog me up, because if I had diarrhea, then I'd be so lightheaded going to the bathroom. My feet would go numb. Literally, like I would have to crawl from the toilet to my bed, because sitting on the toilet made my feet and bottom of my legs go numb. Like, you know, when your foot goes to sleep and you're dragging it, you're trying to get it to wake up. Both
I
feet.
hate that feeling.
Oh my God, it sucks. Like, so bad. And it would happen to both. So I had floppy feet. Like, I couldn't even get one in front of the other. And but because I knew it would go away, I would try not to over freak out. Like, that was my secret weapon, was I would try really hard not to freak out. And that's what I see all day on my page, is people literally freaking out. And I think from me not over freaking out, it allowed me to kind of move to the next place. It's okay. You did this, you're okay. You did this, you're okay. Your heart's beating, you're okay.
So I'm curious, you know, so you're going through this, you're spending all this time in bed because of the pain and everything that went along with it. And we don't need to dive very deep into this, but just so that the people out there who may be suffering from this, or have a loved one or somebody that they know, what was the overall effect on your family life and your relations? What was that like?
It felt non-existent. I felt like I could hear my world going on without me. I could hear my kids engaging and coming in from school, and my husband picking them up, and all, you know, I'm upstairs. I hear it all going on. And it's really weird, because that's just how it was. There were days where I could get up and drive, and I would drive. I would want to so bad. I'd ask my husband, let me drive. And he's like, no, you're on meds. You forgot where you were driving. It's good. And I'm like, let me fucking drive. Like, I want to live. Like, I wanted to try things, but then after it got so hard trying, I was accepting of my conditions. I was accepting of my debilitation. That's just what fibromyalgia is. You know, you just gotta live with the conditions, right? And take your tramadol every 3 fucking hours, and maybe that'll help lessen the pain, but it doesn't take it away. I was on 12 medications during my bedridden days, and none of it got my ass out of bed. Yeah. None of it. I mean, it just allowed me to function, I guess.
So, okay. So like we've touched on then you know, the story of what you experienced from when you were young, and then in your 20s and in your 30s, and then you got into this minor fender bender, and it just triggered all this cascade of issues that led you to be bedridden, and the effects that had on your relationships with your family and with your personal stuff and the way that you felt. And I think that, you know, for the people out there that are suffering, like, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that can totally relate with your story and say, yeah, fuck, I've been there. And, but now we want to shift the focus, because we've looked at the painful part. I think anybody who's watched this episode up until now can see that you are like a bundle of fire. And I could, like, when
the fire's back.
The fire's back. So when I had that class with you, like, I was just totally blown away with how much energy and vitality that you have. And that's what we really want to touch on. And that's the reason for making this show, is that anybody out there who's suffering from chronic illness or can relate with your story in one way or another, Like, we want them to know that it's possible. It's possible to get better. And you have a really unique story and an extremely powerful message that I know that you want to share with the people out there that may be listening. So I think that if we could start diving into what was the moment, like if you go back and you think about that, like when did the train turn around and start going the other direction towards healing? Like, what was the moment that triggered the beginning of that?
After reading The Biology of the Belief by Bruce Lipton, a friend, my acupuncture / friend, hockey mom, for years had been trying to push Bruce Lipton on me. My best friend in San Jose also, she's a drug and alcohol counselor, and 3 principles, she all this stuff about thoughts, and they've been trying to get me to read about him for years, and I wasn't ready to receive. She gave me the book and she's like, what do you have to lose? She's like, you're in this fearful state, Evangelia. She's like, I know there's a way that you can take your power back. And I was just like, whatever, dude. Like, I have fibromyalgia. This is my life. Like, there's nothing a fucking book, okay, it's gonna fucking tell me that's gonna erase my pain. Tell me what I can do to erase my pain. And that is something that goes on all day on my page. It's like, well, can you take away my pain? Can you take away my pain? Sorry, no, I can't take away your pain. But learning what I learned in that book about our cells, and that we're like communication receptors, like the fact that my cells are vibrating and listening and responding to every single word I am saying, like a recorder, and then playing it out, was like nothing I'd ever been told, heard, read, nothing. Like, I've read self-help books, thought books, like all this stuff to help with like self-empowerment and the 4 principles. The 4 agreements, like books about knowing what I needed to do. And but nothing told me how to get there. Every book told me what it felt like to be there, what it causes us to be fucked up, which is early trauma. But there was nothing that provided me a tool. And I was like, well, I guess, okay, so let me back up. Before I got the book, I dropped to my knees again. And I was so sick and tired of being sick and being in that space that I wanted to die. I wanted to line up all my pharmaceuticals. I would look at them every single day, and I would plan out which ones I would need to take that would most likely not let me wake up or fade out or be so bad that the ER couldn't save me. And so I had just been like, what have I done before to save myself? Oh my God, I can't save myself. Oh my God, I can't save myself. Doctors aren't saving me. And I'm like, and I'm going all my chapters in my life of what did I do as a child when I was scared? What did I do when I thought I wasn't going to have kids? What did I do when I didn't think I was going to find the love of my life, or I was worthy of fighting? I literally fell to my knees again. Same with rehab. And I prayed. I'm like, God, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I was angry, and I'm like, take this away from me or let me die. What's the lesson in this? Like, what am I supposed to learn? Like, if there is something I'm supposed to learn, or if there's a message for me in this, if there's something I'm supposed to do with this, tell me, show me. Like, I don't give a shit. I've tried it. From this point forward, if you are real and you have something for me, and I'm supposed to learn something out of this thing, right? Then everything I see comes at me is going to be you, or it's not, and I know you don't exist. Whatever. I was like, testing God, basically. Like, all right. That wasn't even that. It was the next day as I got that book. My friend reached out. Yeah, my friend reached out, and I was like laughing, like, you know, and that was, and it was funny because when I was on the ground surrendering, it was the first time I'd had these weird visions come through. And when I talk about it, people think I'm crazy, but I literally saw images of myself in the ground, in the dirt, with my hand up above the dirt, like I had been buried. And all I had was one hand sticking out from the earth. And this light came down with this big gold hand and literally grabbed me, pulled me up. And all of a sudden, all this gold armor, like I can't explain what the armor looked like, because it wasn't like anything I'd seen before. And it was me walking down this dark road with a lamp that my God had given me. Like, I'm giving this to you now. You have to use it. And everything that I tell you to do, you have to do it. And I mean, just telling you the story, I have goosebumps. And the book shows up the next day. And I'm like, I was having aha moments from the rest of that moment forward. The book. Then I read the book. Literally, I was like telling my friend, I don't read. Like, I have ADHD. Like, I was playing all these old beliefs. Like, dude, I don't concentrate. Like, I can't comprehend anything I read. So I'll read the book for you. You know? And I told her it's going to take me months because of my migraines. It's so hard. Like, I had all these fucking excuses to not read. But then when I'd taken in this belief that, okay, well, anything that's coming at me is from God. He's trying to tell me something. I'm going to listen. So then I was kind of turning crazy in that way too. Like, no, God's trying to tell me something. So I read the book in 3 fucking days. Like, I had nothing else to do but stay in my bed and read this book. And this book literally wouldn't, it was like almost the worst addiction I'd ever experienced. I was turning the pages, like, what's going to happen next? And, oh my God, what does that mean? And I was looking at things differently. And I was like, I have to have Psych K. I can't, like, this is Psych K. This is the thing I've been looking for.
Now hold on a second. Hang on. So in this book, The Biology of Belief with Bruce Lipton, I haven't, it surprises me that I haven't read this book yet, but I haven't.
What?
But I know that Bruce Lipton, he talks about epigenetics, right? And our ability to basically change our body.
Everything.
Based upon, like what you're saying, so thoughts, the way that we speak to ourselves, and then also the subconscious programming. And so I know that he talks about ways to alter, like, our subconscious beliefs. And one of those ways is what you're talking about, Psych K. Is that right?
Yeah, that was the root of it all for me. I was running on really shitty programs. None of them were serving me. And my first Psych K session was she was just asking my body, like, I was having severe liver pain. And I was in and out of the ER all the time for my liver. And she was like, come in and let's see if there's a message for you in it. And I was like, what? And she's like, Psych K, remember? She's like, let's talk to your body. Let's find out what we need to hear, what your body's trying to tell you, Evangelia. Like, there's a message in every single thing. And I'm just like, oh my God, that sounds so awesome. I'm like, yes, let's find out. Like, only because I was ready to tap into this. That book just kind of opened me up to, like, all these different possibilities. And I was game. What the fuck? What do I have to lose? Nothing. Like, I'm already bedridden. I'm already shitty. I'm already in pain. You know, like, God told me he was going to, you know, I feel like God's going to show me the way. So I'm going to go. And I got my best face on. I got oh my God, it took me forever to get ready that day to go to her appointment. we found out that I was holding on to abandonment and resentment issues. And as soon as we discovered that that was the message that my liver was trying to tell me, my pain literally lessened within a week. The inflammation in my liver went down. I walked out after doing the, is it the new direction or resolution balance, where you have to like bring both hemispheres of the brain together?
I think that's resolution.
Yeah, I had never experienced anything like it. And I left that day feeling different, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And Minerva kept smiling at me. She's like, I can't wait to hear from you in a week. And I was like, what is this? And she's like, just don't worry about it. Don't think about it. She's like, just keep me, updated. And I got in my car and I was like, whatever. I don't know what just happened, but I feel like I had this weird new kick to life, even though my kick still hurt. Like it was like, I don't know, but all I knew is I wanted more. I wanted to understand more. So then I read the rest of his books, and I was doing everything I could to afford the sessions. Because everything was out of pocket, and everything I'd been doing before was insurance took care of it, or was a copay. So all these new things that I wanted to do was all out of pocket. But after my first experience, me and my husband both knew it was worth it, because so much had changed.
Right.
My liver pain was so debilitating. I can't express it to people or you enough. Like it was like I could barely lift my back up because of the pain. So I walked kind of humped over. It was horrible. So whatever, I released the message. I had no idea that I was holding abandonment issues for someone that had passed away, 2 people that had passed away. I thought it was grief. And she's like, no, you've been holding on to the emotion of abandonment. You've been feeling a subconscious program in here that you've been running has been telling you they've abandoned you. They've left you here alone. And I'm like, oh, you're so right this whole time. I'm like, how could you fucking leave me? Why? I had no one to love me now. Like, you're the only people that loved me unconditionally, and now you're fucking gone. Like, fuck you. Why did you leave me here? And I felt that when felt like I was dying. I'm like, take me with you. Like, you left me here. That was something I'd never heard of. Nothing any of my psychiatrists or cognitive behavioral therapy or all the stuff I'd tried to do to work on my PTSD and trauma and depression and sadness and grief.
And those weren't thoughts that you were aware of consciously.
No. Nope.
Yeah.
The only ones I was aware of was grief.
Yeah.
I'm like, abandonment. She's like, did somebody leave you? And I'm like, I don't get it. She goes, did anyone pass away and you feel like they left you behind? And I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Yeah. And she's like, let's muscle test through that until we can get a strong response. And it was a simple, beautiful thing that I'd never experienced. Like, I'd never even knew what fucking muscle testing was. And she was like, your body, when it's pulled strong, that's a yes. And she was like, and everything, I was like, oh my God, it's right. It's right. It's right. So I'm like, my body does know. Who better than my own body? Who better than my own thinking brain? Except for my subconscious programming was confusing me and not allowing me to think properly or see clearly. It was like the more sessions I had, it was like this dirty film was removed from my eyes, from my lenses. And all of a sudden it was like, whoa, I can see things clearly. I can feel things clearly. I had more of a will to live. I had a drive to want to find my cure. I had this drive to get your fucking ass out of bed. The more you move, the better you feel. Start writing. Start reading books you want to learn about. I started tapping in and downloading apps. I started following Bruce Lipton's suggestions and Joe Dispenza and watching documentaries about healing, how people with cancer literally talk to their freaking cancer with hearts in their mind and dissolved their own cancer. Mm-hmm. So what makes me think I can't do that? My new beliefs were like, hell yeah, Evangelia, you tell your liver you love it today. You tell your left lumbar, you're going to be fine. You're not broken. You can still drive. Get your shit out of your head. So I knew I had my mind and body totally disconnected before that point. So when I brought my mind and body together, connected them, the possibilities were endless to me. I was like, what can I do now? Like, and that started the coffee enemas. I wasn't fearful. The fear of death and what I was going through had been removed. I wasn't scared if I was going to die. Everybody fucking dies.
Yep.
I had to change my perception around how I was going to survive, how I looked at myself, how I looked at my pain and my trauma as a little child, how I got to learn to love on that little broken girl inside, that not one doctor, not any cure could heal but me. Only I saw what was hurting her. Only I saw and knew what she needed to feel loved. All the things I didn't get as a child were the things that my little girl needed. To be heard, to be validated, to be appreciated. I removed all that stuff, and all of a sudden Mexico came into play, and I knew right then and there.
And I want to get into that a little bit here, but something that I really want to touch on is that people that are suffering or have spent time in the place where you were, bedridden, in pain, wondering why, it wasn't a surgery that saved you. It wasn't a pill that pulled you out of that. Mm-mm. It was recognizing your own trauma and healing your own trauma that led you to have the will and the energy and the vitality to really start seeking your wholeness. So,
for sure.
I mean, so that was what launched you. That's what propelled you to really seek wholeness and wellness within yourself, was recognizing that and healing that.
Yeah, it was almost recognizing my spirit, my higher self.
That's interesting. Okay, so now I'm curious. So somebody who is right now, they are stuck in bed and they are at that low point, where they're counting their pills and they're looking at their pills in the morning. What would you say to that person right now?
That there's a purpose in their pain. There's a message. I believe that there's so much internal pain going on inside that with emotions and fear, every single cell in their body is running for dear life. Like this. Every little cell, every single cell, and we have trillions. Every single one of them are running for the door, running to figure out, how the fuck do I get out of here? I don't know how to work together, guys. No, but none of the cells know how to work together in a community anymore. Everything in the body is a disruption. It's disrupted. So all they're feeling is their physical pain, because the internal pain is manifesting because they've never gotten rid of it. That's, for me personally, how did my pain become livable once I got rid of the internal pain that my trauma and my lack of worth and lack of not being loved, or the way I needed to be loved as a child, all of that opened up all these little portals for any disease, for anything, any stressor. If I over worried about something, my body felt on fire. I was so scared that this was the day. And then I just played the tape over and over again. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Oh my God, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Over and over and over again. So when you've only got one tape playing, and that's the only recording those cells are listening to, well, you better fucking believe that it's going to deliver what you're telling them. And that was my reality. And being on the outside now, looking in and listening to these people suffering, I'm like, what programs are you running off of? What have you not healed emotionally, energetically? Yeah. Because that's an energy. That's a real thing flowing through your body. And when you don't get rid of it, it's like a pinball machine. Ding, 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 ding. That emotion just goes, that ball gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it has less space to jump around. So then it manifests and sits. And then, I mean, I know a lot of people in the chronic illness world have a hard time hearing that and wanting to believe that because their physical symptoms are so overpowering their mindset to even allow themselves to think that way. They're so gung-ho on this chronic illness and I have all these conditions and all these doctors telling me I have all these problems. I'm fucked. Don't you get it? I'm sicker than you. It's like, no. For me, I'm, I was that person. So how can I sit here now and then get the validation from one of the world's most amazing doctors on this planet for any disease? Bruce Lipton is one, but Dr. Calzada is number two. And I feel like I had two men that literally transformed my life. Bruce Lipton helped me rewire my brain to have a whole new subconscious programming. Sorry about that. And Dr. Calzada cleaned out my body. He eradicated the thing that was disrupting my body from wanting to get to wellness. I have the right mindset to have the platform for his treatments to work, because there's people that are having his treatments that are still not getting as far as I am, but we've acknowledged it's because of their mindset and the trauma they've not released from their body. 70% of a disease, an illness, is trauma. So you remove that trauma, you're left with 30% of whatever that little symptom is that the disease gave you, which to me was livable. High functioning like me. I walked in that door and he looked at me like, how in the world are you like this? Stage 4. And you come in here. We go, Joey. He's like, you should be in a wheelchair. You should be bedridden. I'm like, I was. But I wasn't willing to invest in a wheelchair. No fucking way.
Yep.
And he's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm working on my brain, my subconscious programming. And he just hugged me and was like, if you can share that and help people do that, he goes, you would make my job so much easier.
So something I want to touch on here is, do you have any days where you are bedridden now?
No, unless I choose to.
Right. So
I have, yes. It's a mindset. The other day, I allowed myself to be bedridden because I wanted to be, and I felt my pain. For me, when I choose to be debilitated or bedridden, it's because I've chosen to listen to my body, because my body's saying, slow the fuck down, Evangelia. Ease it up.
Yep.
You're still learning to jog. You know how to walk now. So today you need to just take a break. So when I'm bedridden, I'm not just all, I'm in so much pain. Oh my God. I'm literally doing everything in my power to remove myself from my thinking of my pain. I'm reading a book. I'm watching a great movie. I'm engaging online, but I'm bedridden. I'm in bed. That's my bedridden.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's a good place to be sometimes.
Yeah, it is. So for the people out there who are stuck in bed right now, I hope that you can really listen. If you need to, back that up and listen to what Evangelia just said, because what she touched on there was so important. 70% of chronic illness is all mindset and trauma.
Yep,
and so, I hope that anybody who needs to can really resonate with the message that you just gave them, because that was you. It's not like you're somebody who's just talking from the outside. You were there and now you are here, where the only time that you lay in bed is if you feel like your body's like, yeah, okay, it's time to kick it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's massive. And so, okay, so you Site K is what helped you release the trauma and get you started on your journey. And then secondly, now you mentioned it's Dr. Calzada. Is that how you say it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, okay, so let's dive into then the steps that you took. Like if you look at from real broad overview, it was Psyche and then Dr. Calzada. Can you talk a little bit about that part of your healing journey?
Yeah, I after a year of trying to treat with my naturopath here for Lyme disease.
Is this post Site K or is this during Site K or
this is before Site K and
before
during?
Site K? Okay.
So before Site K, a friend approached me at my high school reunion 2016 and was like, you need to go to a naturopath. This is not fucking fibromyalgia, Evangelia. Just, you're dying. You need to go get your labs worked on. And so I sat on it for a while, denied it. Then finally I was like, what do I have to lose? She kept bugging me about it. So I went and I didn't even have to have blood work done. She knew I had Lyme disease just from my symptoms and muscle testing me. But she told me not to spend the money on the tests. They're going to be inaccurate. There's only a certain amount that are allowed to have positive. And she's like, if there's one co-infection not show up, then you don't have Lyme, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, we're going to treat you. This is like an onion. We're going to have to work through layers. And she was right. I spent the money anyways. My tests came back inconclusive and negative. But I was stage 4.
How do you know that you were stage 4? Was that from your work?
I found out when I went to Mexico.
Got it. So now what is it? So what is it about Mexico that told you were stage 4 that you couldn't get in the United States?
I had the dark field blood scope done. It's just a microscope, like, biologists and scientists use to, like in school, and they take one little drop of your blood, with that little pincher. They pinch your finger and they take one little drop. They put it on a little slide, and you're sitting there with the doctor, and he's looking at it. And on a flat screen, it shows you everything that's going on in your body, your cells, what's living inside your cells, the activity of the cell. I was so obsessed with cells that I had to have this test done. It showed me everything that was going on with my immune system, my blood. I saw everything floating in my blood. I saw the little fucking bastards swimming around in circles in my cell, inside my cells, which told my doctor, he turned around and looked at me and he's like, wow, you've been sick a while. And I was like, have I? He's like, it's reached inside your cells. And I'm like, well, okay, well, what does that mean? He's like, it takes years for a pathogen to break the wall of the outside of the cell. There's so many mechanisms that the cells have to protect us, right? Mm-hmm. It made its way inside my cell and it was swimming in circles. So I had individual cells with a foreigner, an invader living in it, running its own thing.
Could you have that that scope used in the United States where you are?
No. I mean, I think there are doctors, but they're underground and they don't market it. They market it as like another type of analysis, or they're not labeled as doctors. Doctors that have been caught with it have been, their practices have been taken away. Their licenses have been taken away.
And we could... I'm sure that we could dive into all the reasons why that is, and
truth.
I think we'll skip that entire subject for this podcast because we could spend another 2 hours.
So because of the cells and my condition of my cells and the amount of percentage of pathogens and bacteria, he knew that I was at stage 4 because of my symptoms and where the spirochete had been in. So that's how we knew. And then I had another test, a radionics test done that kind of showed where I was bit. It was the infection originally, it started in my right knee. And when they told me that, it was like, rerhyme. Like all these things came back to me of when I was in like 7th or 8th grade when my knee had swelled up. But just who's to say that, like, was that it? We don't know. Nobody knows. All we know is that it's in my body and it got there somehow, and you can get it through meat. You can get it through lice. You can get it through fleas. You can get it through spider bites. You can get it through over-vaccination, immune comfort, like trauma. Anything to traumatize the body, to compromise the immune system. I've had a compromised immune system since I was fucking 10. I've had a broken limbic system since I was probably 5, since my first trauma. Any kind of trauma disrupts the limbic system, that then all of a sudden it's like, well, the law of attraction doesn't work for people. The law of attraction doesn't work for people with a broken limbic system. It's just a chronic loop you're trapped in. And then you attract more trauma, more scenarios over and over again. And these people live their life like, why do I keep bringing in the same people in my life? Why does this shit keep happening to me?
Right.
That's why.
And something that you touched on when we spoke yesterday, getting ready for this, that I want to make sure that you talk about a little bit, is you said, my husband has the spirochete, but he doesn't have the symptoms.
Right.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, first, I know a woman that travels the United States with the dark field, and she does dark field parties, and she runs this test on people. 30 people will crowd into a room, and they all get their blood looked at. Okay. They all pay $100, which is totally fucking worth it. She said out of 30 people at one time, 27 of them all had spirochetes. Only 6 of them had symptoms. I asked her why. She said they were the only 6 they knew that they had Lyme. So what does that tell you and me? That means they instantly uploaded the beliefs and the symptoms and all the information they were learning about Lyme disease on the internet, and took that shit in and resonated with every single symptom, everything that went wrong. And oh my God, I have Lyme disease. Oh my God, I have Lyme disease. I could die. I have an infection. And then you've got these other people that have no fucking clue, living their life. The difference is my husband never had any tripwires go off. He never was abused. He was never had trauma growing up. He never had a compromised immune system. So I can't honestly say that he might not ever get it. He could get sick, get the flu, and then all of a sudden his immune system's not strong enough to do it, and then the bacteria takes over and he has symptoms. But the fact is that's not what's happening. He eats a clean diet. He makes sure he exercises. He keeps his stress load down. He's good with his mindset. Mind over matter, right? So you're not giving power to something. We're giving power to this disease in our country, telling us how complex it is and how all fucked up it is on the body. So yeah, we're just running on this fucked up system of disruption and stress and fear. So what happens to the body when you're only living on fight or flight? It's like you're running from a bear every single day, 24 hours a day. That's not normal. Yeah,
just that in itself will eventually kill a person.
Yeah. So
living in this
these people that are think they're dying, I'm like, you're not dying. You are smarter than the spirochete. Your body's stronger than the spirochete. Yes, the spirochete wants to make it its host, but our body is way more intelligent than the goddamn bacteria. We've been living and coexisting with all kinds of crazy bacteria our whole existence. So all of a sudden, all these broken people, all these lost souls, all the mentally ill, all the addicts, all have Lyme disease. Why? Trauma.
Yeah.
You're running away because you got madness going on? Yeah, the bacteria is being stimulated by you not removing the fucking problem. It's of everything that's weak. And if your mind is weak, you better fucking believe you're going to have chronic headaches and your brain is on fire. But that is my truth. I'm not saying that's everybody's Lyme's truth, because Lyme is very complex in every single person. My doctor told me not one Lyme disease sufferer is suffering from the same thing. All different. I have a friend that has no body pain, no fatigue, no nothing, just vertigo. Because all the inflammation is in her brain from the spirochete.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, there's high functioning Lymies, there's low functioning Lymies, like autism.
Yeah.
There are people that are autistic that you have no fucking clue. I'm a high functioning Limey. I walked in that door as a high functioning Limey because I know there's thousands of Lymies that have to get up every day and go to work. They're on my page. They're like, bitch, I don't got an option. I got to go to work. That's mindset. Until you've convinced yourself so much that you can't work, pain is so bad that you can't get up. Okay, well, you're the one telling your body what to do. So it's just responding. I mean, really, That's what's happening. And it's really sad because everyone on my page is very fearful and scared. They've got this illness and a chronic illness and they're debilitated or in pain. They've got to go to work every day, or their husband left them and now they're homeless or they're lonely. It's a fucking sad reality when people that have this disruption going on, or a bacteria taking over, that we are like the misunderstood misfits. Yeah. So you've got everyone that had AIDS early were gay, right? But that's not true. We know that now. But right now, everyone that has Lyme disease is crazy. Right now. And in the end, we're going to soon find out that we did not choose to be crazy. But what's going on inside the body is crazy. But how do we choose to navigate that craziness? What kind of mindset do you want? Do you want to win? Do you want to lose? Do you want to heal? Do you want to suffer? There are people that say they want to heal, but yet they don't want to do the work. Or their own fearful mindset blocks them from getting further in their journey. And that is my passion is, you know what? I'm not saying I'm going to take your disease away and your back pain away or your head pain away, but let me take some other stuff away from you and see what we're left with.
Yeah.
You know?
So I think that's a really good place to segue into this. So there's a couple of things that I want to touch on. We're reaching the end of this interview. So let's real quick, and we kind of touched on this yesterday. I said, if somebody was sitting here in front of you and they were suffering with what you were suffering with, what would be 3 steps, the 3 important steps that they need to take in order to get themselves back into a state of wholeness? And what you said yesterday is you said mindset, detoxing, and diet. Do you still feel like that's what you want to go with?
Yes. And then I wrote 3 other ones just because I feel like if everybody could activate their own healing energy, be taught about it, learning energy healing modalities, and literally making subconscious change a priority.
Yeah.
Subconscious change is let's do that first, and then left on the table, because so much gets cleaned off when you work on the subconscious programming and you rewire. There are thousands of sufferers that were literally bedridden for almost half their lives in wheelchairs and did the DNSR program for 4 days and worked on their beliefs or uploaded, whatever. And same with Psych K. They got their life back. They're not debilitated anymore. So what programs that, people don't, 95% of our thinking is a program that's already been done and programmed from like 1 to 7 years old. 5% is all the work you've tried to put into that. So which one do you think wins?
Yeah.
95% of that program, like driving a car. So let's get a new car. Or fuck it, let's not get a new car. Let me open up the hood. This is the way I look at it. Let me open up your hood, look at your engine, Let's see where the disruption is, where the cloggage is, where there's some too much oil, not enough oil, and let's fix it. And then let's see how the engine runs.
Okay. So you're saying, activate their own healing energy, and then subconscious change. What was the other one that you were saying?
Wait, we talked about learning. Okay, so one is learning like your own like natural energy healing modalities, subconscious change, and obviously detox and diet. It's so hard to pin down because it's like you have to have the right diet, or how are you feeding your cells? What are your cells like? Everything to me is about cells because we're made up of cells. If we don't fix the cells don't know what to do to help the heart beat, to help circulation go. I mean, our cells are the communicators of our bodies. It tells every single organ and thing what to do. So if you're feeding it the right fuel, like gassing up your car, what food is for cells? Real food, like real organic alkaline foods. Those are the only foods that feed cells, that actually refuel them, reboot them, and detoxing the body and getting the lymphatic system, like our drainage system that holds everything, toxins, metals, gunk from food. If you're constantly trying, but it's just blocked up. So eating the right foods, trying to find ways to get your body to sweat, jump on a mini trampoline, sit in a sauna, mindset of sitting in a warm room, even if it's not hot, and telling yourself, listening to frequency sounds for detoxing, that you need to sweat. Literally, your body by telling it, I need to sweat, it'll fucking sweat. I've done it. Like, the power of the mind is, I don't even have a word for it. I don't want to say insane, because it's not insane, because it's intelligent as fuck. Like, it's brilliant.
Beyond powerful.
Brilliant.
So we've covered, we've touched on the diet, detoxing, and the mindset. So now the next thing that I want to touch on is, so now that you've gone through this healing process and you recognize the power of working with somebody that does Psych-K, you have learned how to facilitate Psych-K. And what have been the results that you've been seeing? Because you another thing to touch on is that you run a Facebook page that has pulled together a lot of people that are suffering from chronic illness. Talk a little bit about your Facebook page, the people that are on there, and then also what have you seen in the work that you've been doing with people?
What have I seen is people taking their power back.
Yeah.
They want to win. They have hope. They've been uploaded with hope and inspiration. And it's like it ignites their inner warrior to like take life by the horns and just go at it and have no fear. Like, they're accepting of love. It's almost like that movie, Avatar. Everything just looks beautiful.
Yeah.
You acknowledge relationships. You see them for what they are. You see yourself for what you are. And you love yourself for it. And you're like, you become your own personal cheerleader, which none of us really are. Some of us are, which is great. But the ones that have been sick and lost and not supported, we don't have that little cheerleader angel going on saying, you got this. That's what the groups are for.
Yeah.
That's what I am for my group people. I'm a cheerleader for them, to remind them of their worth and what they're deserving of, and that they're strong. But as soon as though my clients have gotten like the core belief done, all of a sudden they become little minions. They have like that same zest, that same inspiration to keep going and seeing beauty even in your pain. So when you can transform people's mindsets or change their perception or remove these programs that have been really making them stuck, it's like they're calling it like being a butterfly, like you're in a cocoon, right? You're a caterpillar. And I literally helped break their cocoon that they were so scared to break out of. They wanted to break out so bad, but didn't know how. They tried this. And I'm like, I got you. I was like, we're gonna break that shell. And I did. And that's why I always try to offer the core belief first before we go into any sessions, or I'm like, nah, stop. Let's figure out what's sabotaging you, what's at the bottom of your core. Let's remove that, sit for a week, see how you feel. People are now having new desires. They want to change their career, or they start like seeing things differently. It's just, and I feel good because I'm like, yes, that's how I felt. Like, yay! Like, you guys get to feel, now we're like exchanging that same vibe, you know? And it's the Psych K vibe, I call it. Turquoise light.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
So okay, so I'm sure that there are people on here like, how do I find you? How do we connect? So how do we connect with you? Like, what are the places, like, where can we find you?
I mean, I'm still learning this whole social media thing. Like, I'm on Instagram as Holistic Warrior. I'm on Facebook as, I have the Empowering Holistic Healing group on Facebook. Gosh, I have Non-Toxic Beauty page. I have a Dr. Calzada support page. I have a blog site, like a website that I'm, still trying to fine tune as a grounding place for me to like tell my story, or, there's a lot more I could be doing, and I'm hoping that I get the right team behind me to help get my story out. And that one, my website's just holisticlymewarrior.com.
Okay. And I will leave links for all of these down below for people that want to connect.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because I think it's really important that people are able to connect with you and learn more about your story and your journey. And then also, like, if you recognize that I need to start addressing some of my subconscious beliefs, they can definitely reach out to you and work with that. All right. So we have covered your story. We've covered the steps that you took for your own healing, and then the steps that you would recommend for somebody who is starting their journey. Is there, before we part, and I think that we'll probably end up doing another episode, I'm sure, and dive deep.
I hope
so. But is there any
conquering chronic illness series?
Yes. Is there anything that you want to say to the audience? Any parting words that you feel like, a question I should have asked that I didn't, or anything that comes to mind that you want to say to them before we end this episode?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I feel like if their doctor's not helping them, look into alternative ways, look into ozone therapy, chelation, look into stem cells, look into energy work, look into releasing trauma, working through your pain, whatever happened to you, whatever stories, and that they will win if they want to win. They're stronger than they think they are, and I want to be there to tell them how strong they are. Nobody realizes what strength it takes. Even if you're fucking bedridden, it takes strength to even be alive, to want it, to just every day have that lifestyle. That's why we're called warriors, because it takes a warrior to have to go do it again, over and over again, like a broken fucking record. And I want them to know that their record isn't broken. Everything can be fixed. And there's a bridge that can lead them to many ways to put their broken pieces together, because in the end, when those pieces come together, it's literally each person is like this beautiful mosaic of broken, beautiful colored pieces. And it requires you to be broken and shattered so that you can bring your beauty back to life, and to share all the lights that come off of that mosaic. Is everybody has that light. Everybody's broken. And I think that their brokenness is actually probably the most beautiful part about them. And I want them to embrace the brokenness, and love themselves, because the more they love themselves, the more the body will love them back.
Yes. Beautiful. All right, so you heard that. If you're still watching this, you are a warrior, and I hope you go check out Evangelia's page, and we'll see you next episode.
Yay, bye.